was amused throughout the season because Davis and Igbinosun, every time there was an ISO of him downfield, and I don't have any clue, I could look it up, how many pass interference calls that he drew. I don't think it was some exorbitant amount by any stretch, but there were a number of times when he was ISO to show that he played the receiver extremely well, and I would often kind of cringe or smirk like, wow, that was close. He could have been called. He is an aggressive cornerback.
Yeah, they've talked about him as the most physical cornerback on the team. The receivers have talked about it. Some of the coaches have talked about it. I think if you go back and look early on in the season, they were doing more press man with Davison. And as the season went on, I think they realized if you play him off a little bit, less chance he gets some of those penalties, at least early in the routes. Gives him a little bit more time before contact and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, this cornerback room, honestly, we could replay a lot of what we said last offseason about these guys. Now, there aren't the questions maybe that there were last offseason. Denzel Burke was coming off a year where he had been banged up and hadn't played well. Davison Igbinosun was just coming in from transferring from Ole Miss. We weren't sure what we would get from Jordan Hancock, but we knew from talking to the coaches that they were really excited about what he could offer. But it's those three guys. And then if you want to throw in Jermaine Matthews, who played some last year when there were some injuries as a freshman and played really well. He's probably that fourth corner that could step in if and when they need somebody. But those are the three. And I think there's not many cornerback rooms in the country that you have more confidence in, given what they did the year prior. Denzel Burke, I think his coming back for his senior year could be, in the All-American conversation. Davison Igbinosun, I expect him to build on what he did last season. And, Jordan Hancock, I know, was irritated that he was not at least an honorable mention All Big Ten player with the way he played last year. As we talked about, Sonny Styles moving to linebacker likely means that Jordan Hancock will be the third, that full-time nickel, though they have used Sonny Styles' brother as a nickel as well. That could be a backup, Lorenzo Styles Jr. So I think those three at the top are the names you need to know for the most part. But they do have some depth there and guys that could step in. I didn't mention Calvin Simpson-Hunt, another guy who is the highest rated corner, I think, in Ohio State's 2023 class. He didn't play a ton last year, but certainly could see a bigger role if needed. Bryce West, Miles Lockhart, I'm forgetting one of them of the freshman corners.
Aaron Scott.
There we go. Those are guys that were all pretty highly recruited. Maybe don't make a big impact this year, but I wouldn't be surprised if, they at least get on the field at some point. So a pretty deep room given what is returning for Ohio State.
Aaron Scott, the number one rated player in the state of Ohio and a fifth rated cornerback. That's the 247 Sports Composite, and Bryce West certainly in the top 15 and a top 150 player. So don't put it past those guys to possibly make some kind of impact as they develop throughout the summer and into the fall.